What's up, everybody? How you guys doing today? My name is Brandon with Immunity Nutrition. I first learned about sea moss from the late and great Dr. Sabi. Once I learned about the sea moss, I started taking the sea moss and started experiencing amazing benefits. And after experiencing those benefits, I had to let my family and friends know about it. I had friends and family telling me the difference within their blood pressure, their libido, their energy levels, and skin. Man, sea moss is the truth, man. And I want you guys to experience those similar benefits. So if you are interested in some sea moss, all you have to do is click the link to this video and I'll get you your sea moss.
Sea moss have me doing things every morning like this. That's sea moss.
And I want you guys to notice that Dr. Sebi, and shout out to my brother B Price, man. You might guys want to check that out. Immunity, Juice and Nutrition. The link is in the description box as well as right there in the chat. So shout out to my brother. This particular story comes out of North Carolina, a place that some of you guys, if y'all grew up in the time I grew up in, North Carolina is the place where you need to stand up and take your shirt off and twist it around your head and spin it like a helicopter, right? Some of y'all might know that song. Some of you might not get the joke. I get it. But this story is coming from lawandcrime.com. And I'm going to tell you guys, it's nothing more that disgusts me that people who have children, abuse children, and only have children to benefit off of the backs of their kids. I'll explain how all of that works here. If you guys have been listening long enough, then you know exactly what I mean. But some of you guys, this might be your first time here. But don't let me shock you with my content. Let me give you a disclaimer so you know what you're walking into. And it is not working, but I will make it work. Some viewers may find the following content. Let me turn that up a little bit. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. Now, the person that you guys see on my screen looks to be in some type of distress, some type of peril, and I don't want you guys to feel bad for her because what you heard is she actually did. Now, here's the thing that's going to make my story, if you guys watch this story on these children from any other video, is because I was actually able to find, let me see if I can get them up here. I want y'all to check this out. Not only did I find her actual Facebook page, which shows that it's still active, and I'm going to show you guys that there's something interesting on there. I was actually able to find, where they at? Right here. I want you guys to look at these beautiful little babies. And I think all babies are beautiful, boys and girls. Like, I think they're a gift from God, but too many of us just take advantage of them and treat them like handbags. These are beautiful little babies. And these babies, it's endless possibilities of what they could have grown up to become, right? And they were abused and misused by their mother. Their mother didn't care for them. And let me show you something that I thought was interesting. And I'm getting this story from lawandcrime.com. I get a lot of stories from them. So thank you so much for the article. But before we get to that article, let me show you something that I thought was interesting. So here's what happens when you go to this woman's Facebook page by the name of Tamaya Tomlin. I think that's how you pronounce her name. If it's not correct, then I just don't really give a damn, okay? But let's take a look at her page here. I want you guys to notice in her intro, I'm going to try to highlight it. Let me see if I can highlight that for you. Break out my trusty whiteboard so you guys can see this a little bit better. I'm going to put this in yellow. I think that should be easier to see. I want you guys to take a look right about here. Turn your resolution up if you can't see it. I want you guys to notice something. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What do y'all think that is? What do you think those names are? What do you think those names stand for? I want you guys to keep in mind that this mother who just gave birth to twins not that long ago, is only 24 years old. Can we get a hashtag babies for benefits? You guys know that's an AFC hashtag, right? We own that. We created it. If anybody uses it, you know where it came from. Babies for benefits. Those are the name of 5 individuals who we believe to be her children. 5 kids at 24 years old. 23, 22, 21, 20, 19. Probably getting pregnant at 18. But that's if the oldest child is 5 years old. All this woman has been doing for the past at least 5 to 6 years is laying on her back with her legs up in the air, having babies by anybody who will release their seed to her. I'm pretty sure she wasn't married. I'm pretty sure she didn't give a damn who was the volunteer, who was the sponsor, who was the donor. I'm sure she didn't care. Why? Because people like this who have children with no purpose, no moral compass, no plan for them, no money for them, no savings for them, no future for them, only have babies because they get stuff off of it. Things like Section 8, food stamps, car vouchers, freaking what else? It was something somebody told me the other day that I didn't even realize that you could actually get as a benefit off of these kids. And I was like, wow, I did not know that. So if you guys think of some things, you can type it in the chat. But, also child support. It's another reason why. Control over a man. Making that man feel like you owe him. He owes you something. But nonetheless, this woman is 24 years old with 5 kids out of North Carolina, and she actually might be facing the death penalty. And I want you guys to hear this story. She starved her twin babies. One of her 5-month-old sons didn't actually survive. They were only 5 months old, but they were both on the brink of death, and one of them actually did not survive, and he was emaciated. Tashawn Tomlin is the mother's name, 24 years old, on Monday, was formally charged with 1 count of first-degree murder in her infant son's death, and that's reviewed by Law and Crime. Tomlin was first taken into custody in December 28th of 2022 and charged with 2 counts of felony child abuse resulting in serious physical injury. She has remained incarcerated at the Guilford County Jail since her arrest. A report to the Guilford County District Attorney's Office obtained by High Point, North Carolina Fox affiliate WGHP stated that the mother, on Christmas Day last year, called 911 and reported that she found one of her infant sons unresponsive in her home located in the 4000 block of McIntosh Street in Greensboro, which is about 90 miles northeast of Charlotte. So if you guys know about that area, you might know about where that is. Now, how many times have you guys heard this story? And I'm going to tell y'all something. I think that it is the most egregious thing. It's the most ironic thing. It's the most shocking thing when you have somebody who obviously is big enough and overweight enough to understand the value of sustenance, food, eating, calories, carbohydrates. And you got a whole bunch of other kids, but you don't realize that the smallest and most defenseless of those children need you the most. And she didn't quite get that. She didn't understand that. I'll tell you the reason why she said she ended up in this situation. I'll tell you in a moment. Now, according to the report, Tomlin claimed that she recently fed both of her twins before putting them down for a nap. She fell asleep, and then she fell asleep herself. When she woke up a couple of hours later, her blankets were soiled, and she looked at one of her twins, and he was not breathing, so she called 911. First responders took the twins to the hospital. One of the twins was pronounced dead at the hospital. Officers as well as crime scene investigators noted that the 5-month-old was so emaciated that he was literally skin and bones. You could see where his joints were visible, and he appeared to be very malnourished. A subsequent autopsy determined that the deceased infant's manner of death was a homicide, and the cause of death was malnourishment and starvation, as well as a low heart rate and hypothermia. Doctors reportedly told investigators that the victim's surviving sibling was similarly severely malnourished and suffering from hypothermia. So he was pretty much on the brink of death also. So the only reason that the other twin didn't pass away was just because his body was able to hold on long enough before help finally arrived. The mother appeared in court on Tuesday for a bond hearing where the presiding judge explained that if convicted of first-degree murder, she will be facing penalties of either death or life in prison. And I got to let y'all hear that video. If y'all want to hear it, it's a little bit long. It's about 10 minutes long, but I can play it if y'all want to hear it. During the hearing, prosecutors said that investigators at Tomlin's residence documented the scene and found that there was minimal food in the home. There was no fresh formula and that all the milk was curdled or spoiled. Tomlin appeared visibly upset, placing both hands over her face like she in Home Alone, and sobbing. She was crying. Oh my God. Why do y'all think she was crying? Y'all watch my channel long enough. Let me back that up like a U-Haul truck. Let me back that up. Why do y'all think that she was crying and had her hands over her face? Do you think she had her hands over her face because she felt bad about her kids? Or do you think she had her hands over her face because she's actually going to have to face the consequences of what she did to her kids? She's thinking, if you ask me, I think she's thinking about herself. I think she's being selfish. This is a moment where she's feeling bad about what's going to happen to her as opposed to what happened to her kids. Both of the twins were both born premature with THC in their systems and weighed only 4.5 pounds each, prosecutors continue. 5 months later, both boys allegedly weighed only 5 pounds, the prosecutor said, emphasizing that they had only gained a half a pound since their birth. And of course, any of y'all who have common sense or have kids know that is not right at all. Half a pound in that many months. And also, I want y'all to think about this. Some people might look at this story and they might feel bad for the mom and say, well, maybe she didn't have enough money. Okay, that could be a possibility. But I want y'all to think about this. She always had her hair done. She always had earrings and makeup and probably was dressed up, probably still going to the club, probably still trying to find her a thug that was willing to sleep with her, keep her a man, right? She had money for that. Let's just say if you know that you're struggling, most people who have one kid know that they can't provide for one kid, let alone you turn around and get pregnant and have a second. What's the excuse? Let alone after that, you turn around and get pregnant with a third kid when you probably couldn't take care of them properly. Then you turn around and get pregnant again. What's the excuse for that? And here's what I propose to the world that's listening. When are we going to put our foot down, just like the movie Forrest Gump said, stupid is as stupid does. Ain't that right, Lieutenant Dan? Put your foot down and say this is gotta stop. Because if you create no accountability for these people, you have things like safe haven, where you can drop the kid off, no consequences. You have things like you have contraceptives, like condoms. You have things like the day after pill. You have things like the depot shot. You have things like the NuvaRing. Should I keep going? There are so many contraceptives. At this point, when you have children, it's not by accident, and it's definitely not by somebody taking advantage of you sexually, because that's a crime. You didn't report a crime, so I'm going to assume it was consensual. So if it's consensual, then you went into this knowing that you were going to produce another child and knowing that none of these other men stepped up and they were there for their kids. They probably ran out on you, right? So I'm just saying, if you know that men ain't shit, then why keep having babies by ain't shit men? Let me pause on that one for a moment. Say that again. I hear a lot of women, I see it all the time. They post stuff on social media, on Instagram, and mainly on Facebook, crying and whining, talking about Most of these men and these fathers ain't shit. But these are the same women that have multiple kids by multiple men that ain't shit, and probably dating a man that ain't shit, and probably gonna end up meeting another man that ain't shit. So what does that say about you? Let me give you guys the fair usage before we get into these news videos, before I get myself in trouble. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. If you guys have watched my channel for long enough, then you know one of our other hashtags. Shout out my brother Dre the Dream in the chat. Hashtag hood hoes love hood dick, and guess I'm calling her mama a hood hoe. It's my personal opinion. All right. I hope these news videos will play without any trouble. If you guys understand where I'm going, put the children first. That's why we call ourselves the AFC. Put the children first. Don't be so triggered that you feel like I'm talking about our black queen, y'all. Right? Don't feel so triggered that you feel like I'm talking about a woman or bashing a race, or I hate myself, or I hate my mama, or whatever it is that people like to say. Think about the babies, not only the twins that almost both of them lost their life, but think about the other 3 children as well that are now going to have to be concerned about their other twin younger sibling. Where are they going to live now? Who's going to provide for them now? Are their fathers going to step up and get custody of them?
In Greensboro, police say a woman is now facing a murder charge in the death of her child. Authorities say Tamaya Tomlin was initially taken into custody at the end of last year on child abuse charges after her 5-month-old went into cardiac arrest and died on Christmas. We're told after further investigation, the counts were upgraded this week.
Docket number 15, Ms. Tomlin. 15, Ms. Tomlin.
All right, Ms. Tomlin,
Yes.
you've been charged with first-degree murder, Class A. Maximum time on that is death or life without parole. I'm gonna speak with the DA, I'm gonna speak with court services, and I'll come back and speak with you about an attorney, okay?
If I could, can I have my same attorney representing me in Casino?
Okay, all right, I'll come back to you on that, okay?
Right.
All right. All right.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Her next court date will be August 22nd, next month. Your Honor, she is correct. Mr. Vecino does represent her on her charges that were taken out well before the homicide charges, which are felony child abuse inflicted with serious bodily injury. Your Honor, the victims in those cases were her twin 5-month-old children. One of those sons, both sons, is the victim in the homicide. On Christmas Day of last year, 911 was called for because a child was unresponsive. Ms. Tomlin would have told 911 first responders that when she had fed both the twins bottles and placed them down for a nap, and she went to sleep as well, and when she woke up a couple of hours later, her blankets were soiled, and she looked at one of her twins, and he was not breathing, so she called 911. First responders took the twins to the hospital. One of the twins did not, or was pronounced dead at the hospital. Officers as well as crime scene investigators noted that that 5-month-old was scanning bones and could see where his joints were visible. And he appeared to be very malnutrition. The surviving twin, his brother, was also very malnutrition and was suffering from a low heart rate and hypothermia. According to the doctors at that time, he was also near death due to malnutrition. Officers and crime scene investigators documented the scene at the residence. They found that there was minimal food. They found that there was no fresh formula. All the milk was curdled or spoiled. Miss Tomlin she moved to North Carolina from Ohio on July 3rd, and these twins were born on July 5th.
Now, I want you guys to know, and I know that the audio is a little bit low. It's a little bit low, but I went in and I edited this audio, made it into stereo. I had to up it in areas where it was super, like it was almost, you couldn't hear a single thing at all. So the fact that y'all even hearing this, I think is amazing, but I had to fix the audio. But bear with me, there'll be a little more talking in there, so hopefully you guys can hear that. But I really, really worked my butt off for half an evening trying to just fix the audio to this so y'all could actually hear it.
There is a CPS history for me.
If you guys would, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, please do me a favor and please hit that thumbs up and share this video so more people can see it, more people can know about this story and what's going on. Because this is a pretty serious story, especially when somebody is facing death for what they did.
For her other children in Ohio. At birth, these twins were premature. They had THC in their systems. They weighed 4.5 pounds, and then 5 months later, they weighed 5 pounds, so exactly 0.5 pounds more than they did at birth. Because of all of these facts, and I should say that there wasn't an autopsy that's already been performed. The manner of death in that autopsy was malnutrition and starvation, and the cause of death is murder. So it was ruled a homicide because of all those facts. The state will be asking the court to continue to hold Ms. Tomlin without harm.
Anything else from the state?
No.
Court services?
She has been in custody since December 28th of last year, held on 2 other bonds totaling $500,000 for 2 counts child abuse, serious physical injury, and she has 0 conviction dates on her record.
Okay. And ma'am, you requesting Wayne Bacino to represent you on these current charges as well? How you spelling Bacino?
It's Baucino.
And ma'am, who are you and what would you like to offer to the court?
My name is Marquisha Sherman. That's my sister. Same mom and dad. As far as we fed the twins,
I normally don't make observations like this, especially not often, definitely not often. Keep in mind, she looks like she's about 55 years old. And her titties are hanging to the bottom of her stomach at 24 years old. Guess what I had at 24 years old? A 6-pack, believe it or not. At 24 years old, I just had my daughter. Shout out to my baby girl if she's out there listening. Me and my daughter's mom had just had her when I turned 24. They are literally hanging low, way down to her stomach. Think about this. She's complaining, talking about she ain't got much money, and I get that, and that's probably why you shouldn't have so many kids. So that's a choice that you made. And on top of that, with all the help that you can get from the state for every kid that you get, the more kids you have, the more that the state pays, the more food stamps that they kick in, right? Give me just a second. Hold on. All right, mic check, mic check. Okay, I think you guys can hear me. But just think about how crazy that is. Make sure we're still good here. But just think about how crazy that is. The fact that you can get that much help, and for every kid that you have, they increase the amount of food stamps that you get. So if nothing else, shouldn't you at least be able to provide food for the kids? What are you doing with the food stamps? And if you're broke, then you should have applied for food stamps. So I just can't make any excuse for that. I just really can't.
My name is Markeisha Sherman. That's my sister. Same mom and dad. As far as we fed the twins, like the twins ate, and as far as I'm saying, there wasn't no food at the house when they got there. I had her every twin with me, so I took the food with me. Like I took all the kids with me once they took Amir to the hospital. So I had all the food, the baby food with me, packed up. So she didn't have to be in the house for that reason. I had it with me.
Okay. All right. All right, I'm going to appoint Mr. Bacino on this matter. The next court date will be August the 22nd. August the 22nd. I'm going to keep the bond the same. Anything else from the state? No. Anything else from defense? No. Okay. All right.
And that's the end of that video. Sorry, I was talking a little bit. I didn't say too much. But yeah, somebody else in the chat said that WIC actually gives you free formula. So there is literally no excuse to starve these kids, except for if you intentionally did not make any attempts to feed them. She made 0 attempts. Yeah, somebody in the chat asked, was her family in court speaking on her behalf? Yes, they were. And I'm sorry, because I get that that's your family member. That's the person you've known for the longest. And maybe you don't care as much about these children because that you know more about her than you do the kids. But that's why I think that society is really messed up. And I think that's actually what caused me to start doing my videos, because I noticed there was a lack in the media. There was a lack of YouTube videos. There was just a pure lack of people caring about their children the way that I felt like they should. So what I wanted to do was use the little bit of a platform that I had, my little corner of YouTube, my little sliver of YouTube, to be able to speak this message of love and support for these children, because I want y'all to look at these babies. And I cannot imagine. And matter of fact, I can't show her other children, but I did see her other children. They're all beautiful kids. Every single one of them. I think all children are beautiful, but her children are beautiful. Beautiful little kids. And I don't understand, even the men. I know y'all be asking, like, why I never get on to the fathers, because the fathers ain't here. They already ain't shit. So they've already kind of proven that they're nothing. And you shouldn't be having kids by them. And another thing that I believe is that women shouldn't have children by men who are under the age of 30 years old, because most men aren't even financially responsible until after their 30s, mid-30s and above. That's actually a statistical fact. So there's really no reason to have children by young men. But I don't understand how you can look at these young babies and not put everything on hold to make sure you tend to them night and day all the time to make sure that they are good at all times. So the fact that the mother flat out neglected that, and it sounds like she intentionally did this, which is what the courts are, like they believe, which is why they're charging her. She's looking at the death penalty, and I'm not going to feel sorry for her. And if they give her that, then it is what it is. Pray for those kids, especially the ones that survived. One of the twins died. One of the twins survived. It's a very, very bittersweet story, because it's really, really sad, man. But let me know what you guys think about the story in the comment section, okay? Thank you. It's probably more I wanted to say, but I'm not sure if I can get away too much with more than I actually really want to say. So I'll just try to just parse my words a little bit. So let's go ahead and move on to story number 2. And also, B Price, if you're listening, I'm gonna run your commercial again here at the end of the stream. So just keep that in mind, bro. I'm gonna definitely make sure that the people know where to find your product. Again, make sure you guys check out Immunity Juice and Nutrition. The link is actually pinned at the top of the chat. of the live chat. So you can click that and check out his CMOS products. I'm definitely going to mess around and get a whole case full of that stuff. So y'all will see me with that very, very soon. Now, this story comes out of the great state of Oklahoma, or maybe it's not such a great state if we keep producing all these bad stories. I don't know. I'm originally from Oklahoma, but sometimes I be thinking like, I don't want people to know I'm from there. We get a lot of stories that have been coming out of Oklahoma, like these different little areas of Oklahoma where folks are killing bundles of kids at a time, which is just a really weird thing. And this is a really sad story also. So I want you guys to take a look at this individual on my screen. So if you guys are of the Caucasian ethnicity, then you might, if you get easily triggered, then I'm just telling you guys, I'm probably going to say some stuff that's going to hurt your little feelings. So I'm just saying, you might want to prepare yourself for that. to all my white audience members out there, do we have any good old white people watching my show right now? Because if I can get on to the darkies, then best believe I can get on to these trailer park trash assholes. I can do them both. Just saying. Anyway, let me see. Hold on just a second. Let me tell them I will pick this up tomorrow. We're live. Y'all got to bear with me. I got to do some of this stuff live sometime. All right, cool. And again, if I missed anybody, let me say thank you to Ash and Emmy. They are in the building, and thank you for your Cash App. And also thank you, Catherine, for your Cash App. And also, let me see, who else am I missing? Latanya, 1707. You got that new emoji there, so thank you for rejoining. Alicia Garcia, thank you. And it was somebody else I needed to shout out. Sherry Herbert, thank you. I hope I said your name right. I might not have said that right. And Misty, thank you and welcome, Misty. You guys ready for story number 2? Oklahoma here in the past 2 years have been producing some of the worst stories. I know we've had definitely a history when it comes to kids and things coming out in the news and making worldwide news. I think this should have been worldwide news because I think that this signifies another person that I believe was selfish and didn't actually put their children as a priority. But when I read you the details, I think you'll see why I feel that way. But before I get into the details, let me give you guys a quick disclaimer, just if this is your first time watching my content. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. And again, I want to apologize to my white audience out there. If you guys are listening, I don't want y'all to think that I'm racist or nothing like that. I dish it out pretty evenly between the folks that look like me and those who don't look like me. I think I dish it out pretty evenly. You guys, please hit that thumbs up and share this video, because more than anything, I want to talk about these children, because children lost their lives here and they shouldn't have. And I really wish that adults would stop being so damn selfish. I'm getting this story from lawandcrime.com. Thank you for the article. 4 members of an Oklahoma family are dead after an armed standoff and a triple murder-suicide that occurred this week. So I want y'all to hear this. The scene unfolded late Thursday afternoon at a home in Verdigris, Verdigris. I've heard of that city. I don't know how to pronounce it. I still don't, so whatever. Verdigris, whatever. one of the fastest growing areas in the Sooner State and a town on historic U.S. Route 66, now State Highway 66. A police officer saw the pyrotechnic display of a Roman candle coming from or near the garage of a residence at the corner of East Dogwood Court and Cypress Street, Tulsa-based NBC affiliate KJRH and Oklahoma City-based affiliate CBS affiliate KWTV reported. That's a mouthful. Anyway, the fireworks clued the responding officers into an ongoing hostage situation inside the house. The Verdigris Police Department reportedly said the first officer called for backup. Inside the residence, a woman was being held at gunpoint, according to police. And of course, that's the culprit. Negotiations began quickly as they worked to make contact with 39-year-old Brandy McCaslin. Let me back that up just for a second. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind, that's Brandy McCaslin on the left-hand side of the screen. That would make me and her the exact same age. Now, I'm not saying I look as young as springtime, but when I saw her, I'm like, oh, she's gotta be mid-50s, maybe even like going into her 60s. Like, she looked like somebody's grandmother. She don't look like she's 39. I could be wrong, but it looked like the milk has gone bad. It looks like the milk has spoiled. Just saying. 39-year-old Brandy McCaslin, the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation wrote in a press release. It is so hard for me not to do my country voice. I'm trying my best not to do it. A standoff ensued for the next 3 hours. After no response, officers made entry into the home where they found McCaslin along with her 3 children dead inside. The children included a 10-month-old, as well as a 6 and 11-year-old. It was determined, which those are the kids you see right there, man. It's just sad that we're losing our youth like this to just the most ridiculous reasons. It was determined that McCaslin shot all 3 kids and then turned the weapon on herself. Now, why couldn't she have did that in reverse order? Might have made the world a better place. The children were identified as 10-month-old Billy, 6-year-old Bryce, and 11-year-old Noe. And I think that's how you pronounce it, N-O-E, Noe, which are the names right there that they put on that tree, which I thought it's a nice gesture. At no time when we were there for that 3-hour period did we hear anything from inside the house. Nothing. No response. No movement. According to Verdigris Police Chief Jack Shackelford told the KWTV. Police Chief, however, knew the house well. Shackelford told the TV station he and his officers had been to McCaslin's residence multiple times, so they're familiar. They've been to her residence multiple times on various child welfare and domestic violence calls. Let's stop it right there. They've been to her house multiple times according to their own words. On child welfare and domestic violence, but yet she gets to keep her children. Keep them. That there was an elevated level of danger that they truly believed that something was wrong, that they showed up, kept showing up, kept letting it ride out, didn't take the kids from her, and now look where we are. And this is why these calls from the first call need to be taken as serious as life and death. So the chief said he could draw a diagram floor plan of the house used by state and tribal law enforcement agencies to gain access. But by then, it was too late. Tactical teams began clearing the house room by room, and eventually the grimmest of discoveries was made. A mother with a history of substance abuse. She definitely looked like a meth head to me. a history of substance abuse and mental health issues, murdered her children before turning the gun on herself. So she has a history of mental abuse, and I've always said this. I get that people who have mental issues or mental health issues, I get that. But I've always said this, and I still believe this. If those mental health issues pose a threat to children, then you should not be a parent. I've had people email me about this, cry about it, argue about it, try to explain to me that I shouldn't feel that way and I shouldn't say that. And here we are years later, and I'm still saying the same thing. If your mental health issues present a danger to children, anything that you are doing or your mere existence, if it presents a danger to children, then you should not be around children. Why would anybody argue me about that? Why would anybody push back on that? Because children need people who are of sound mind and body to be able to take care of them. If you are not of sound mind, then why should you be allowed to be around those who are the most vulnerable, can't speak for themselves, can't defend themselves against the tyranny of their caretakers? They went in and finally made their way to the back of the house, to the bedroom, and discovered the suspect and the victims. We knew her from previous encounters that we had with that residence and some of the other issues we've had there before. I knew her by a first name basis and who she was. First Presbyterian Claremore Josh Kerr knew McCaslin also. He told the news in a separate interview that the two had grown up in church and camped together. We were just stunned, Kerr told the TV station. It was just one of those things where you saw a friend from 20 years ago who has struggled over the last years, but don't expect it to end in a scenario like this. Lots of tragedies, suicides in the family, drug use, all the brokenness we see in our communities all the time. The pastor said he and the community were experiencing the typical feelings after such a violent tragedy, like shock and anger, but he advised for just a bit more. There also needs to be empathy and sincere grief and some compassion. And I wonder, compassion for who though? That's the tricky part, because the dry ice cold part about this is when they talk about compassion. Yes, they're talking about the kids, but I think they're also talking about McCaslin, the mother, also. I think when they make a statement like that, I think they're referring to the person who inflicted this damage on those children also. We need to have some compassion for her. Do y'all agree? Because that's what I got from that, and I've seen people speak like that. We need to have some compassion for her and what she was going through. No, to hell with her. She's nothing. She's nobody. She was too big of a coward to stand up and face what it was that she did and wanted to run from judgment. But guess what? We can't run from judgment. You might think that you can run from judgment in the living flesh and blood and body, this vessel that we're living in. You can't run from the real judgment upstairs. Let me give you guys the fair usage. Let me get into these news videos. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. And if you guys are open-minded enough and show respect to the children, and only compassion for the children, please hit that thumbs up and share this video so more people can see it and we can spread this message of love and put our children first.
Thank you, Justin. Now, we wanted to look deeper into Brandy McCaslin's history, and we found recent court documents regarding a custody battle between her and two of her children's fathers. 2 News Oklahoma's Shay Smith went through court records and custody orders and shares the details with us tonight. Shay?
Court records show on January 26th, 9-month-old Billy Jacobson's father and Noe McGee's father both filed for temporary emergency custody orders for the children in Rogers County. Documents say it was in the best interest of the children, and the order that was granted says the court reviewed documents and found irreparable harm could occur if not granted. Both orders were granted by different judges. Court documents show McCaslin had supervised visitation with Noe on Saturdays between 9 and 5 and Wednesdays 3:30 to 7, along with any other agreed upon date.
So they're saying no E. And I saw you post that in the chat earlier. Thank you for correcting me about how to pronounce that name. I definitely want to put some respect on the kid's name. But I know some of my Latin friends. I actually had a friend by the name of N-O-E, and he actually pronounced it Noe, like no way. So I apologize about that. So Noe, got it. So she had visitation. So think about that. If she had visitation, that means she had already been so freaking bad that they were just like, no, we need to supervise the visitation. And they still let her around these kids.
Documents say McCaslin was allowed to see Billy every Saturday or Sunday from 9 to 5, and every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 8:30 to 5. All of those visitations were also required to be supervised. Records also show Billy's father requested the court to appoint a guardian ad litem to represent the baby. The cost was to be split between Billy's father and McCaslin. On June 7th, the court ordered McCaslin to submit a nail bed drug test within 24 hours. The records show she was also ordered to undergo a psychological evaluation. A status conference for that was set for August 9th, less than 3 weeks from the day of the murders. But it wasn't just the court documents we found. A GoFundMe page details other struggles McCaslin was facing. On January 26th, the same day the emergency custody orders were granted, a GoFundMe was created for McCaslin by a friend of hers. The GoFundMe says in part, "My friend moved into her grandparents' home because their health has declined majorly. She didn't know at the time that they had let the house payments lapse, and McCaslin's grandpa passed away in January."
And think about that. So they put up a GoFundMe for somebody who didn't have custody of the kids. So do you guys see? Of course, I'm not against GoFundMe. I'm just against people using GoFundMe to take advantage of it. And I just think we need to be more cautious before we just start just dumping money and you don't really understand the dynamics of what that situation is. So here it is. This woman has murdered these kids. This woman did not have access to these kids except for supervision. That means that she was already a danger to these kids. So if she didn't have custody, then that means all she had to do was take care of herself. And yes, she came across hard times, but if you don't have custody of your children, then I believe that you should pull yourself up by your bootstraps, like they like to say, and figure it out. That's what most men got to do. If you guys notice, and I've heard Tommy talk about this, shout out to Tommy. Don't know if he's listening, but that's my guy. But he's one of the first people that I heard say that the majority of homeless people, I think it's like, 80%, maybe higher, give or take, of all homeless people are men. So if ain't nobody feeling sad for them and creating shelters for them and safe housing for them, then why is it that this one woman couldn't take care of herself or figure it out on her own? No, you still got people wanting to wipe her ass. $10,000 GoFundMe and no custody of the kids. Think about that for a moment. And somebody, are y'all saying that she had employment? I think if she had employment, I think that makes it worse. If she had employment, you definitely shouldn't be getting no GoFundMe. Not when you don't have any kids, not when you're not supporting your kids. I think that makes it worse.
Update, the GoFundMe says they are no longer financially able to keep the house. It went on to say her grandma had another heart attack and now has 90% blockage in her heart. They will be sending her home on hospice.
Okay, so somebody's asking, where was the person that was supposed to be supervising her at? Here's what I understand. I think that she was in the middle of a visitation with the kids. That person that was supervising her was there. She ended up getting irate, got mad. That person, I think, called the police. And then that's where the standoff occurs. So I think that person that was supervising was able to get away and call the police. That's what I'm assuming that happened. I think they mentioned it in a different article. So check me on that. I might not be 100% accurate, but I think that's what happened, just so y'all know.
Now, I did reach out to the woman who created that GoFundMe and have not heard back. In studio, Shay Smith, 2 News Oklahoma.
At 5.
Thank you for being here on this Friday evening. I'm Karen Larson. We'll hear from Aaron Christie in just a moment. First at 5, our team coverage continues as we learn more about the tragedy of a mother killing her 3 young children and then herself in Verdigris. Shay Smith spent the day reading through the woman's family court documents and shares what she found. Justin Ayer is in Verdigris, hearing from the community. In fact, hearts are very heavy across Rogers County tonight after OSBI says they're investigating that triple murder-suicide involving 39-year-old Brandy McCaslin and her 3 children, Noe, Bryce, and 9-month-old Billy. Earlier today, Billy's aunt shared this picture with us. 2 News Oklahoma senior reporter Justin Ayer joining us live from the house where it happened and where a memorial now sits. Justin?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for everyone involved. It's heartbreaking for this entire community. As you can see behind me here, the crime scene tape is still at the house. What I do want to point out, though, is this plaque right by the tree. This is what those neighbors made for the children involved. And everyone I've talked to can agree they had nothing to do with this.
Good grief. How in the world can you imagine that?
Neighbors can't wrap their head around it. They're remembering Noe, Bryce, and Bubba as written on this tree memorial in front of the house. With colorful flowers and pom-poms, opposite this crime scene tape portrays the dark events taking place here Thursday afternoon. Bill Swawetcher lives nearby and says he watched multiple officers try to get McCaslin outside to surrender. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation says the woman was armed with a weapon and barricaded inside.
I think it was around 3 o'clock, and the police officers here in massive numbers. And those are the guys I really feel sorry for, that they have to go through that.
Getting no response, OSBI says they went inside and found McCaslin and her 3 children dead from gunshot wounds.
I did see the kids come in and off the bus a couple times.
Blake Forsman's family lives across the street and would often see their mother waiting for them or loading up a truck. I noticed the exterior of the house wasn't kept up. The garage windows were shattered and there were bikes and toys lying around. Forsman says he fixed their fence in the past so their dogs wouldn't get to his.
They look like normal kids. I mean, they, would get off the bus, run inside, ride bikes, just normal everyday kids.
A tragic event leaving the community, especially neighbors, speechless. The dark events taking place here Thursday afternoon. Bill Swawetcher lives nearby and says he watched multiple officers.
And I'm Reagan Ledbetter. Verdigris Police Chief Jack Shackelford says it all started yesterday afternoon. He says a woman shot a Roman candle out of this garage to alert officers she was being held hostage, and it hit a patrol car in the area. She told officers she went to drop off a child for a supervised visit to the mother, and that mother held her and her 2 of her kids captive. That's when the standoff began, and officers found the mother and 3 kids dead hours later. A family member has given us these photos and identified the mother as Brandy McCaslin and 3 of her kids, 11-year-old Noe, 6-year-old Bryce, and 10-month-old Billy. The Claremore pastor says he knew Brandy from church, and she had a lot of mental health struggles. And this is heartbreaking that someone would do this to their own kids, but there is help out there.
And to harm them is contrary to that. And so I can only imagine this scenario playing out if this person was in a terrible place, both in a mental health crisis and in a place of terrible despair.
Officers say the kids and Brandy were likely dead throughout the standoff since they never made contact with her.
Again, my closing thoughts. If they have this long history and the fact that you add the fact that she had supervised visitation, which means she didn't have custody of the kids anymore, I think that was enough to make sure that she didn't see him again. And I guess, but you know what? Even the measure of supervised visitation, this is why they had the supervised visitation. This is exactly why, because they knew that she was a ticking time bomb. And I just wish she didn't have any more access, either get herself fixed up, take care of herself, freaking go to anger management, whatever it is, get medication, get seen, fix all that before you put the kids anywhere back near her again. How she was able to keep a weapon and have mental issues, maybe they knew, maybe they didn't. But the fact that they made so many calls and came out there so many times, to me, that signifies that they had that many opportunities to save these kids. And it just seemed like a big failure. It wasn't a good plan there. So RIP to the children. It's a really sad thing. But like I said, man, I wish that we could have saw justice against that mother in the physical form in court. But we won't get to do that. But we know where her final destination is going to end up. But thank you guys so much for listening to the story. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section.